Hi everybody, welcome to Mike's Master Classes. I'm Jay Umble, and just want to talk to you today about some modern harmonic concepts and just some other harmonic things in general to share with you. So the first thing I want to deal with is talking about a 2-5-1 situation and approaching it from a parallel perspective. So if we have a 2-5-1 in the key of G, we have A minor 7, some kind of a D7 altered chord, and some kind of G major chord. And that's a very good solid way of handling the 2-5-1. But we want to talk about it from a parallel perspective, which is really cool. So the rule is simply this. If you have, take your 2 minor chord, so in this case, A minor 7, A minor 9, whatever you're using. Move up a minor third, this would be in essence C minor 9. And then that substitutes for the 5 chord, and then we just go down half a step to B minor 9. And that functions as the 1 chord. Because as you know, you can substitute 3 minor, B minor, for the 1 chord. So basically that's what's happening. We have a 2 minor 7 chord, up a minor third, function as the 5, and then down a half step for the 1. This is a very simple way, but yet it's a modern sound to move in parallel like that, which is very effective. Now if you want to play A minor 7 like this, for instance, the bass note is going to be a little bit too prominent. So what I would do is simply eliminate the bass note and simply take the triad. So that reminds me of a Sonny Rollins tune, Pen Up House, where if you're going to play, we could say, and here we're going to a G6-9 flat 5 chord. So just moving around in parallel like that, parallel is really effective. So, and remember, any 2 minor chord can be moved in that manner. So let's just say we have G minor 11. Now we're in the key of F, the 2 minor chord, up a minor third, down a half step. That's our 2-5-1. Now keep in mind we're starting here in G, and we're ending up a step above. So another way of handling this would simply be to start out with your 2 minor chord, go up a half a step. This is simply a passing chord, which is functioning then as your altered dominant chord, and we're ending up at the same destination as we did before, but we simply went up chromatically, gravitated up to that point. So now we can do this, or it's the same thing, just different ways of getting there. Let's go back to the key of G now. So we'll go back and use the same voice in A minor 11. Another thing we could do is go down. So if we go down, start with the 2 chord, go down a major third, and then down a half step again. Now we're down to home bass again to G. So here is in essence a 2-5-1. So that's a very useful thing. And any 2 chord can move in this direction. And there's one other thing I would say, and that is Saber in the key of F. You can go up like this. So here I'm just using the major 7th interval, which is right out of this G minor 9 chord. So I'm playing this, go up a minor third, up another minor third, and then up to our 1 chord. Here's our F and our major 7. So that's a nice movement too, up in minor thirds, and then the last one's just a half step. So we also have those things where we can utilize just partials of a chord as opposed to the whole chord, doing that kind of thing. And getting back to that Sonny Rollins tune, Pen Up House, so we have that kind of movement. D minor, C minor, A. So I find that fascinating, just getting in with the parallelism, where we're taking just the triad, we're negotiating the 2-5-1, we're negotiating it again. Now now we go to D minor for the middle part of the tune, just not playing the root on these things, down to C minor, half stepping down, to A minor, half stepping down. Now it's a little outside because it's the G6-9 flat 5, but nonetheless, we're just taking this chord, and I think we've hit every chord for Sonny Rollins' Pentapals. It's pretty awesome how you can just move a chord around in parallel as long as you hit the appropriate points. Okay, I do want to move on now to talk about harmonic setups. And in jazz, all the good players, all the great players are doing harmonic setups, linear setups. It just makes music sound more pleasing, actually. It just gives it more depth. And I just want to talk about some setups using the blues idiom. So if we look at the B-flat blues, we go to the 4th chord, which is E-flat 9. I'm going to use some chordal harmony to set up that E-flat 9. I'm going to do this. So we have this, 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm doing there is I'm using chordal harmony to set up that E-flat 9 chord, and what I'm thinking of there is simply targeting this F note, the 9th of E-flat, half step above, half step below, and then right on it with the E-flat 9. So I'm a half step above chordal harmony triad, half step below, and then right on the E-flat 9. That's how I'm simply thinking in those terms, targeting, but just using chordal harmony to target it. So I find that sound very modern. It's a very left-hand pianistic type of approach. It's a lot of fun to play. The second example I have of this is it's using a longer setup, but using chordal harmony again. And this is coming back in the blues, bar 7, 8, heading towards bar 9, where you have the 2 chord C minor. In this case, I'm going to set it up like this. So here again, what I'm doing is I'm targeting the C minor 9 chord, half step above, into this. And what I did was simply work backwards from that point. A whole tone sequence of chordal harmony. So into this. And then rather than to play it all along here, I just move these up here so it's more in one area. So if I were to play the first example and the second example, for instance, it'd be like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I want to do is just explain that last part of what I'm doing there, what I'm thinking of. I'm playing C minor 9, and like you have a 2-5-1 in B flat, I could play. So I'm doing C minor 9, doing contrary motion, leading up to here. So what I'm doing, I'm starting off just the 2-5, C minor 9 to the F7 altered. And then I'm going down to B flat minor 9, and then again the related altered 5 chord E flat 7. And notice my configuration right here, it's very close to right here, my home base B flat 13. So, and also I think another thing to keep in mind here, which I really like about moving harmony, is that this is gravitating down towards our destination point. I hear things as like families of sound, and so our B flat tonal centers are family of sound, and this is just gravitating back to that B flat center. So that's how I'm actually thinking of that. I'm not thinking there necessarily in terms of actual chords. I am of the first two. But here, I just see this as a gravitational point now back to our B flat tonal center. So anyway, the chordal harmony setups are really, really modern, and I think it adds a lot to the music. I'm getting back into the modern harmony thing, talking about the C Dorian harmonized scale, and this is chordal harmony, and this is one of the. I remember when I first ran into this, it was a major eye-opener for me, and it really helped to expand my chordal base that I work from. So the C Dorian harmonized scale looks and sounds like this. And so what you want to do is first of all learn that. And when you get that comfortable, you might want to just drop the bottom note, because it can get a little bit muddy depending upon what tune you're playing and what register you're at. And it's actually really nice and very light, as you can see, as you can hear right away. That sounds more pianistic to me, and it's not as muddy as all these tones. So when we're just dealing with the top triangle structure, it has that very light left hand kind of pianistic piano feel, which is really cool. And also, it's actually easier to remember. The first three moves here, just in the triad, are just parallel movements. And then you have your minor 6 kind of sound here. And then we have this here, which kind of looks like an F13, which technically it could be. It is, I guess. And back up to here again for C minor 11 type chord. So once you get familiar with that, just playing the triadic structures, the next step to do then would be to, when you're familiar with all the home base points, to start filling those spaces in with some chromaticism, and it makes it a little bit more interesting. So if you're playing like in C minor, we could be saying, that helps once you know where those home bases are, you know, all the points of the actual scale. Then you can start going in and around that, and creating some nice statements with that. So sometimes when I give this to students, it sounds a little bit too outside for their ears. So if that's the case, just work with a voicing of C minor 7 that you're comfortable with, like this or this. And just know that from this point we have these things that work off of that. So we can jam around with this and then put the other ones in there. That way you always come back to your reference point where it makes sense to your ears. Then you stray a little bit with some of the chordal harmony and then come back. It's a good way to get used to it. Same way up here, C minor 7. So just continue on like that, just to get your ears comfortable with the scale. Okay. Let's move on to taking a look at. Also, I do want to say one other thing about that. Actually, unlike your regular harmonized major scales and what have you, that kind of thing. Everything is a unique chord in itself. When you're dealing with these systems I'm showing you today, everything is like it's all part of a family of sound, and that's really one of the things I want you to get to understand, is that this is all considered, and I look at all this as being C minor. I'm not looking at this as being individual chords like I do in a harmonized scale. Everything has its unique place. All these are some derivative of C minor, and that's what, to me, the beauty of it is. And so I look at this as just a C minor family of sound that you can utilize as you wish. Very important to remember. So you don't have to, all you got to do is remember one thing here, etc. through the whole thing, as opposed to all these individual chord names. Now you can go through and dissect it, and if you want to do that, I don't think that's really necessary actually. Okay, so I want to show you another parallel system of chords. This is going to be start off with G minor, and we have this type of movement. 3 of them there, and then 2 of them here. Now, the way I remember these, if I'm looking at G minor, I'm saying my G root here on the 6th string, 3rd fret, and I'm looking at my index finger being 2 frets in back of that, and I'm looking at my index finger being right on top of this G, and 2 frets in front of this G here. So I have that in relation to this. Now, there's only 2 more right here. I'm looking at this G at the 10th fret as being my other reference point. And again, 2 frets in back with my index, right on top of it. And then that's the end of the system. Then you can start over here. There's 3 an octave higher than that. So these things here, again, are all G minor based chords. I mean, you can go through and figure out exactly what they are. I don't really think you need to do that. So this is just, you can set up great modern vamps with this. Very, very open sounding type of harmony. Now the other one is the parallel key of G major, and it's basically the same thing. You have a group of 3 and a group of 2. It's for myself, and I know with everybody I've ever dealt with student-wise, like dealing with this harmonized scale per se, it's just really difficult to get a handle on it because everything is so similar. So I think the easiest way that I've found, and other people agree with me that I've dealt with the scale, is that to, on the major form, relate every one of these chord forms to an actual major position. So down here we have G major 7. We would play this one then. Relate that chord to this one, which gives us that major 7 flat 5 sound. Then we have the second one here, and that one I would relate to this inversion of G major. And then we have this G major 7 here. So that's the one that works with that is this one. Then we have at the 10th fret, and we have this one in conjunction with that. And then we have the last one up here, which would be right here then. So as long as you can see these chords along the neck, you're free then to grab every one of the other chords that relates to that. And that, as you can hear right there, it really opens up the sky harmonically, and really it puts things in a whole different light, which is one of the reasons why I love this modern harmony. It's not as direct as this is. These are very direct sounding chords, whereas I look at these as being very nebulous. And a lot of times you don't even know what the chord is unless you would hear a bass note with it. So if you look at both of these together, say we play G minor, G major, G minor. You definitely hear when you play them back to back like that how they differ from each other. Wonderful things to get involved with. Again, just like the C Dorian harmonized scale, if you want to give your ear a chance to get used to it, just vamp with G minor, something that you really know and your ear knows. Keep coming back to it. You have a constant reference point just to get your ear familiar with it. Once you're familiar with it, then you're off and running, and you can take that